Nobody's Boy Remi anime is based on a novel Sans Famille by Hector Malo. This novel was adapted into anime in 1977 and movies. There are many movies based on this story. The latest movie, French movie, came out 2018. Yeah, so it's a beautiful story. People made a lot of adaptation. Even the anime that came out in 1977 has a remake that came out in 1990 or 1992 called Nobody's Girl Remi. So in the original story, the main character is a boy, but in the remake they changed the main character to a girl, also called Remi. I still haven't watched this anime, the remake, but I love the 1977 one. That's what I watched when I was growing up. It's one of the saddest story and the most beautiful story. It's actually inspiring. It just shows you how things can quickly change, quickly move in life. So Remi is a young boy who's living a peaceful life with his mom in a small village called Chavanon. His mom is called Madame Barberin. Yeah, and Remi is happy even though he never met his dad. His dad left his village to go work to Paris when he was still a baby, and he's excited. He really is looking forward to seeing his dad for the first time because he's been living with his mom, even though they get news from Paris, but he never met his dad. He's always sending money home to take care of his family. Then one day they got some really bad news. Bad news. His dad got into an accident, yeah, at work, and he wanted to sue his employer, so he asked his wife to send him some money, but they just had enough to take care of themselves, even when the husband was sending money back home. So Madame Barberin, Mrs. Barberin, sold everything they had to send the money to her husband so that he can hire a lawyer. So Madame Barberin and Remi just had enough to eat, just had enough to support themselves, even on one celebration day. What they had for the party or to celebrate the day, whatever was going on that day, the neighbors gave them eggs, butter, cheese, and things like that. That's why they were able to make a meal. And her husband happened to come back on the same day. When he saw what they were eating, it was just like, I'm suffering in Paris, working hard for you too, and you are having a feast. He came back a bitter man because he lost his case and he was broke. They had nothing left. That's how Remi met his dad for the first time. He was scared of him. He was hiding behind his mom. And when the dad saw Remi, he was just like, who's this kid? Whose child is this? Remi was shocked. So that's how he found out that he's actually adopted. Remi found out that his mom and dad aren't his real parents. On the day his dad came back from Paris, he was a scary man. He was a cold man. He didn't want to remain in the house anymore. So what happened is that when he went to walk to Paris, he found a baby on the street. He picked up the baby and brought him back to his wife to raise. People praised him in the village thinking that he was doing something good, but he had an ulterior motive actually. He picked up Remi only because he was dressed in really nice and expensive clothes. So he knew that this kid came from a rich family. Maybe one day his family will come looking for him, then I'll get a reward. That's the real reason he brought Remi back to his wife. Now he doesn't have a job anymore. They're completely broke. He can't work anymore. He doesn't want Remi in a house. So he told his wife, take that kid to an orphanage. I don't want him here anymore. But Mrs. Barberin raised and loved Remi as her own child. She was just like, Remi isn't going anywhere. She even told Remi, don't worry, I'm going to speak to Monsieur Barberin and convince him to forget about it. We're going to manage somehow. But Monsieur Barberin didn't want Remi in the house at all. So one day he told his wife, go to the next village to pick up something for me. He injured his leg, so he can't walk to the village on his own, and say that it's just going to take half a day. While the wife was away, he sold Remi to a street performer called Vitalis. So this guy tricked his wife to get rid of his son. At first, I was just like, what is wrong with this guy? How can you accept to buy a child? I was even watching recently with my daughter before recording the video just to refresh my memory. And when my daughter watched that scene, it was just like, he sold a child? You can't do that. I said, well, it happened a lot back in the day. So he sold Remi to Monsieur Vita, Senor Vitalis, an Italian street performer. And he waited for his wife to be away. So when Remi was living with Senor Vitalis, Mrs. Barberin came back and found out that the husband sold Remi because he was counting his money, and he tried to give an excuse. She started running after Remi, shouting his name, and Remi also turned around. It's like he heard his mom. It's like he heard his mom cry. Yeah, and he turned around and shouted, I'll come back to you one day. Don't worry, I'll be just fine. Yeah, this scene was so heartbreaking. Oh my God, I was crying my eyes out. I said, I don't like Jerome Barberin at all. I don't like that guy. He's horrible, but selling Remi to Senor Vitalis is one of the best things that happened to him. I know it sounds weird. He was sold. How can it be good for him? But going with Senor Vitalis was actually better than being sold to an orphanage or being sent to an orphanage, because the orphans those days were treated like slaves. Senor Vitalis actually bought Remi because he needed an apprentice. He was getting old and he wanted someone he can teach everything he knows, so that his art or his performance won't be lost forever. That's why he was interested in Remi. And they started traveling all over France. On his journey, he's going to meet his real family. That's why I say that Remi being sold to Senor Vitalis is one of the best things to ever happen to him. He's going to meet his real mom and younger brother without knowing that that's his real family. Even his mom won't know that that's the son she lost years ago. So there was some power struggle or struggle in a family, yeah. And Remi's uncle or his dad, nephew, I don't remember exactly who, but someone in, oh, now it's raining heavily. So someone in his family wanted to get rid of him because he was the firstborn. He was supposed to be the heir to the family and get the estate. Since he was still a baby, it was easy for them to get rid of him. They actually wanted to unalive him, but something happened, so he ended up on the streets of Paris. And his family is from England, aristocrats, yeah. He ended up on the streets of Paris, and that's when Monsieur Barberin, Jérôme Barberin, found him and brought him back to his wife. So Remi, at some point, is going to end up alone, because back then street performers were treated badly. They are considered just like thieves. Okay, Senor Vitalis is going to get into trouble and go to jail. In the meantime, Remi is going to carry on performing, because that's how they feed themselves, that's how they make money. And then he's going to meet the lady who's going to take him in and ask him to stay with her until Senor Vitalis gets out of jail. So Remi was living with his real family without knowing. Even his mom didn't know, but she fed something for this child. Okay, you don't just invite anyone into while you are traveling in France. As I said, they are from England. They were in France just to travel, looking for a doctor to treat Remi's younger brother. Yeah, and during his time with that family, he was happy. When Senor Vitalis came out of jail, the lady got in touch with with him to let him know where Remi was staying. So when he got out of jail, he wanted to pick up Remi. The lady said, I want to adopt Remi. I want him to stay with me. I'm going to give him the best education possible because they are rich, they are aristocrats. She said that without knowing that that's the son she lost years ago. Senor Vitalis said no. I was really annoyed when he said no. They were struggling so much. Living on the street wasn't easy. People treated them like trash sometimes. That's why he ended up in jail. He has an opportunity to live with a family that wants him, that's going to give him a good life. Why are you saying no? It's only later on I understood why Senor Vitalis was against it. And it makes sense. Because he wanted to teach him something. It's not just about being a street performer, it's about life. He wanted him to learn how to fend for himself because he ended up being sold when Barberin didn't want him in his house anymore. So if he learns how to fend for himself, how to take care of himself, he won't have to worry, he won't have to rely on anyone anymore. And he also wanted to teach him what life is like in different places, what life is like when you're a street performer, what kind of people you can meet, who's good, who's bad. Yeah, that's what he was trying to teach Remi. And Senor Vitalis also had a tragic past. He used to be an opera singer, an Italian opera singer. So how did an Italian opera singer end up being a street performer in France? Yeah, Remi didn't know this at all. So they left the lady, and Remi promised that they're going to meet again. He carried on his travel with Senor Vitalis. He learned to sing, he learned to act, he started earning money, then tragedy strikes. This anime made me cry like any other anime. It was making me cry my eyes out. But when I was a kid, every time it was time for Remi Sans Famille, I sat in front of the TV. I couldn't stop watching because I wanted to know how things are going to end for Remi. Yeah, I know it sounds weird, but that's how I felt. They were a group of 5. There were 2 dogs, Vitalis, Remi, and a monkey, a small monkey. So in the end, Remi is going to end up only with Capi, the dog, and he's going to lose 3 members of the troop. Yeah, it's very sad. Oh my God! And this Remi, it's like everywhere he went, he brought tragedy with him. Every time a family took him in, something bad happened to them, and it was just like, no, I should carry on. So he always ended up on the street. Yeah, something, even when he stayed with the lady, something almost happened to his younger brother. It's like tragedy was following him everywhere.